and feel like you can't? Do you wonder, how can I be free from these issues that have destroyed my life? Well, my friend, I have the answer. Bible Way Hibner Memorial Church of God in Christ presents Chain Breakers, this and every Sunday at 9 a.m. here on WHYL.
From the L.B. Smith Ford Lincoln Studios, Oldies 102.9 is WHYL Carlisle.
It's time now for the Real Estate Radio Guy with real estate broker John Rainville. For the next hour, you'll learn everything about national real estate topics, trends, and news revolving around Central PA. It's sponsored by Equity Prime Mortgage, EnviroQuest Inspections, and SearchHomesInPA.com. And now, here's the Real Estate Radio Guy, John Rainville.
Good morning. Hi, I'm John Rainville.
And I'm Kingsley Harmer.
And we're the Real Estate Radio Guys. And today we've got our year-end wrap-up show. So some of the topics we're going to be talking about today, folks, are we're going to go over the trends in real estate for 2016. We're going to be talking about interest rates, inventory of homes for sale, pricing strategies, where we are with the foreclosures, REOs, short sales, and distressed properties, where we see appreciation, where it was, and where it's going. We're going to be talking about new homes in 2016, where they were, and where we see that going in 2017.
And we're going to try and touch base on what we see as far as some exciting new products for 2017. For those of you out there that are thinking about buying a home, some great new loan products, interest rates and where we see them going for next year. So it's going to be an exciting show. So last year, what's a trend for last year?
Well, some of the trends that we're seeing last year in 2016, millennials are becoming a huge segment of the market. I mean, they're projecting that about 34% of the millennials plan to buy a home in the next 2 years.
That's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people. And, you know, you're talking that's folks under 34, between, 21 and 34. I know Betty has a 21-year-old customer right now out looking at homes. So we're seeing a lot of that into the market. The urban and suburban, you know, the millennials, they talk about, well, these kids are all want to go in town. And that's not true. We're seeing them move all over. So it wasn't like we thought originally in the beginning of the year that they were going to focus on the inner cities and that. So that's been an interesting trend.
And why were they doing that? I mean, why were they thinking that?
Well, I think they thought because of services. You know, they walk to restaurants, walk to nightclubs, walk to, the museum, walk to the park.
I get that, but I don't think that's going to work for every city.
That's correct. Yeah, you're right. You're spot on.
And then I'm sure a huge part of that happened to be that a lot of inner cities obviously had a large spike in foreclosures over the last, 6, 7, 8 years. So affordability as far as getting into a starter home or a home that had, shall we say, a fixer. I think there was a lot of them like that in the cities, but
an interesting fact with the millennials is a lot of them are tending to skip the starter home and go right to what would be considered a first move-up home. They're trying to save a little bit more and get into a little bit bigger home right on the get-go. And that's probably some of the reason that we're starting to see that the tenure or the time people stay in their homes. When I first got in the business 30 years ago, we used to say people stayed in their homes 6, maybe 7 years, and then they moved on. But now it's up to 10 years.
Wow. Yeah, and that's the way it was in mortgages. It was always between 6 and 7 years you were going to either sell, move, or refinance your home for one reason or another. So I think what actually ended up happening as far as the millennials buying in the city was the investors came in and gobbled them all up for, dirt cheap. Did a little bit of rehab to them, which, last year and the year before was huge for rehabs.
Right.
And obviously that trend is starting to go down towards the end of 2016 as the inventory as national averages has dropped off quite a bit.
Another trend that we saw in 2016 was social shoppers Facebook, Pinterest, Google Plus, that the consumers are out there. They're looking for, properties there. They're talking about them. There are sites that have come out like Nestigator, Kazoo. They're definitely different places where they're sharing the homes that they're looking at with the friends on their social media.
I've seen a lot of that myself. You see them all the time. What's your home worth? You've seen the ads. You've seen even for sale by owners. People have tried that quite a bit. I think over the last year, just trying to maximize the sales price, and we all know what happens. When we try that. Social media, Facebook, Twitter's
huge.
A huge one. And I've actually had friends say, "Hey, that's a really nice home. Can you get me in?" Just from a Facebook page.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. One of the things on Facebook I think everybody's seeing right now, the campaign made it big, video. Video is probably one of the biggest marketing tools right now being used.
Can't stand video. Everybody and their brother now is doing a video. Hey, look what I had for breakfast this morning. And everybody's going live like every day on Facebook. But I do see how, for selling homes and possible homes that you want to purchase, I can see the benefit. But I just hope everybody with their breakfast and playing with their cat videos just kind of, fades away in 2017.
It is really nice, though, to be able to see a walkthrough on the house where somebody actually walks through and shows. And, now you have the 360-degree cameras. All of that's, just making the marketing and that for the homes just a lot easier.
A lot easier, because then at the end of the day, too, as a realtor, I'm sure, a lot of people are coming to you. And as it goes forward, I'm sure it's going to get easier. They already have a good idea that they like a particular home or a few. So those days of going out and maybe searching for 40 homes seem to be gone with the technology that we have.
Absolutely. The number of homes we show is definitely down. Sometimes we're lucky we only show one or two homes. But the days of really showing 30, 40 homes to a prospective buyer are definitely gone.
And there'd be no excuse. Because you've got all those tools in front of you to check out the home, literally. And especially as you go up in the tiers as far as, levels of homes, now they have the aerial views and the cameras that basically give you a virtual tour that you can walk through the home and click on a button and take you any direction you want at any given point. Now you've got Facebook with live videos.
One downside I see of the technology from the realtor side is we get less time to connect with the customer because of they text us or email us, or we're on the phone and we're very few times with them. We're showing them fewer properties, so you don't get as much of that bonding time like we used to back in the old days.
Yeah, I can see that, but I think that's probably the way the trend's going. Relationships now is on your cell phone.
That's true.
True. You remember growing up, obviously I'm a tad older than the millennials out there, but, having the really long 30-foot extension cord for the phone and being on the phone for like an hour, with your girlfriend back in the day. Now it's like 4 hours of texting. You never even hear their voice.
That's true. Another trend we saw in 2016, we saw that when houses were being placed on the market, instead of being overpriced, some agents and agencies were actually underpricing them to try and get more activity on a home, because in that first 30 days it's so critical. So they found that by pricing at market or just a little bit below, they were getting 2 and 3 times the traffic through the home and multiple offers.
Can't argue with that. I'm sure, that has some part of raising prices overall. But, it's just a simple, hey, look at this low price. Let's go look at it.
Another trend we saw in 2016 was more mom-and-pop real estate shops, less of the franchises. The franchise numbers nationwide are going down. Our area tends to be fairly strong with the franchises.
Why do you think that is? What's the benefit to the, I don't really call it a mom and pop, but what's the benefit to, not the huge conglomeration of realtors? I mean, there's got to be a benefit to that. Is it for the realtor? Is it for the customer? I mean, where's the benefit lie? What is it?
I found in my 30 years that most consumers deal with the first realtor that they come in contact with. However, some agents, when they're new to the business, or if they're not that strong in the business, feel that they need to have a huge flag flying behind them that they rely on. However, I've never had anybody over the years list their property with me or buy a property from me because of the company I worked for. They always bought it because of me or list it because of me.
Or because of the services that you provide.
Well, that's correct. That's correct. Yep. So we're seeing that the market time is still short. We're still, averaging a 45 to 60-day market time across, Pennsylvania right now. And, we're low on inventory, folks. We're still out there. We're begging for listings because we have many, many, many more buyers in our pipelines than what we have available properties. And so the business has changed a little bit there. Realtors now carry pipelines. And when we're talking about a pipeline, that's their list of people that are looking to either buy or sell a home over the next year. And whereas we used to deal with maybe 5 or 6 every month, we may carry a pipeline now of hundreds of people.
Wow. And I will say that the number of people that I've pre-qualified for a mortgage is up, where they're just kind of sitting in the wings just because there's so little inventory that, we looked at another one, but it's not exactly what we're looking for. Or you find that, because of the little bit of inventory, people are kind of settling, I think, just because they want a home. And if that isn't a testament, to get your home on the market, if you're thinking about selling, I don't know what is. I mean, at this point, it's almost like if you've got 100 people looking to buy one home, that's where you get into your multi-offer situations. You price it right.
Absolutely. Another trend that we saw in 2016 was the number of FSBOs, for sale by owners, dropped. I mean, we're only about 8% nationwide.
Wow.
And we used to see 10, 12%. And,
that's a 30% drop.
Yeah. That over the years, it's definitely changed. People are finding out that it's much easier to work through a realtor. And statistically, nationwide, they get about 6-7% more when they sell using a real estate professional.
But they sell them quicker.
And sell them quicker.
Right. So you're not really gaining anything by trying to sell it on your own, because what's the number one reason somebody comes in for sale by owner? What's the first thing they do?
Well, they always want to try to save the commission.
So they're going to offer you 6% less on a for sale by owner.
Right, which drives down the prices in the neighborhood.
Exactly. So it kills everybody.
That's right. Everyone's better off.
Use the professionals, folks. Use the professionals. That's why they're around. So interest rates in 2016. Not real sexy, but, low. I mean, they averaged anywhere between 3.5, up through, at one point in the election when everything was volatile, 4.25. So there really wasn't, up until the election, it was pretty stable, very affordable housing. So you can get into these, stretch your purchase limit, if you will, with these interest rates for 2016. But as the year went on, they slowly trickled up there in August, September, October. They spiked, obviously, and in November. And, it's a good thing now. We're starting to settle right back down. But we are overall higher, than what we started at in 2016. So, we're hovering right around 4%, which, if you look at the historical rates of interest rates, and I don't know if you were in the industry back when it was, like 10, 12%, for interest rates. If you can think about what you can afford at 10% interest,
compared to now and at 4, it's a huge difference.
It's a huge difference, and it's a realistic interest rate too, if you think about it, because that's a 30-year fixed rate. That's what really the market is all about. You don't really see ARMs anymore. You don't see interest only, for your standard average everyday buyer. You'll have some investors try and jump in on those. So I'm not even going to get into ARM rates, but the 30-year fixed has been low. It's made it affordable, and the problem with that is people have been sitting by the wayside, kind of waiting to the last minute to see what's going to happen with these interest rates.
I don't think we're going to see them any lower.
I think, they've already gone up 0.5%. So
now's the time to buy.
It really is the time to buy. And, as we get into next year, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion, at least from every, expert out in the field, that there's going to be at least one, if not 2 or 3 Fed rate raises of about 0.25%. So, is that going to affect interest rates immediate? Well, there's a lot of factors that go into that, including the election and some of the policies that are going to be in the place from President-elect Trump. But by the end of 2017, we're probably going to be anywhere between 4.25% to 4.5% is what they're predicting. So
that's still historically, though, decade by decade, that's still just
it's
lower
extremely
than
low.
The last 40 years, right?
Yeah. I mean, even before the.
I know you're not that old, but I mean.
Thanks. I'm about half of that. I'm 22 years old, and but yeah, I mean, even back before the great crash of the mortgage industry and homes, I mean, rates weren't anywhere near that low at 3.5% or 4%. So, and it was like that for so long. If you didn't take advantage of it in the last couple of years, as much as I hate to scare people that are on the fence of buying, your first 2 quarters coming up here in 2017, I mean, start jumping on it now. Get pre-approved. Start looking to figure out what your price range is, because by the end of 2017, what you think you can afford now is going to go down. You take your average $225,000 purchase or loan, okay? It's about, $1,250 to $1,280 for your mortgage. Now, with the interest rates going up, that's about $2,500 more per year in interest that you're paying. So think about between now and the end of the year as interest rates tick up. If you can't afford that extra $250, that might take you out of a $300,000 home and down to a $225,000 home. So what does that do for you in today's market? It eliminates probably a lot of new home purchases, new home builds, right? I mean, we were lucky enough to have several builders on this year, and we've got a few coming up next year. And I think they anticipated interest rates going up as well. But the buyers just haven't caught on yet. They haven't seen that, they can afford those nice new build homes. But you wait a year or two for the millennials, I should say, or first-time home buyers, might take that out of the equation.
Absolutely. We're going to head to a break here, and when we come back, we're going to start talking about pricing in the market and inventory.
Buying or selling a home? For professional home inspection, call EnviroQuest of Harrisburg. Their certified home inspectors will conduct a thorough inspection and provide a detailed report with many pictures. They'll explain the findings. Do you have elevated radon levels in your house? Call EnviroQuest. They have fixed over 10,000 homes over the last 25 years. For a professional home inspection or radon mitigation, call EnviroQuest at 233-6144, 233-6144, or visit EnviroQuest online at evqharrisburg.com. That's evqharrisburg.com. Searching for a home online morning, noon, and night, looking at website after website, clicking contact me and nobody does? Missed homes that were sold before you knew they were for sale? The better choice is searchhomesinpa.com. Search if you want, or they'll do it for you. Contact by phone, email, or text to adjust your search or to tour a property. Start online. They'll call you back at searchhomesinpa.com or call toll free 855-919-HOME and they'll do it for you. Searchhomesinpa.com 855-919-4663.
Are you working with a mortgage company that offers pre-approvals or just pre-qualifications? Does your mortgage company reward police, firefighters, military, teachers, and nurses with better rates and fees? How would you like to apply and be updated on the status of your loan right from your phone? Introducing GSF Mortgage Corporation, where technology and relationships make the difference. Visit pagoloan.com to apply or call 717-200-4800 for more information. NMLS number 1018.
Okay, and we're back, and we're going to start off now with talking about inventory of homes in the market, inventory, REOs, foreclosures. The REO and the foreclosures in Pennsylvania are down. Kingsley and I were just talking about this morning. They're down over 30% over last year. However,
there has been a recent spike, towards the end of the year there. October, November in particular, there has been a spike from the previous parts of the year. York, for example, York, Pennsylvania, was number one in the country as far as foreclosures.
Wow. And was that just like the
for
last
November?
quarter?
For November.
That's huge.
Yeah, because it was a huge spike over, the previous. They were number 10 in the country, Pennsylvania, in the country in November for foreclosures. So it ended up where it was 1 out of every 1,250 homes on average was in foreclosure in Pennsylvania in November.
Okay. I know that we're still seeing, on the real estate company side, we're still seeing people come to us with short sales, so that there's still people that are upside down in the market.
And for those of you out there, short sale is basically a foreclosure, but you're negotiating with the mortgage company before you actually get foreclosed upon, and the mortgage company says, hey, you know what, we're going to have to hire an attorney, we're going to have to go through all these costs. Okay, look, fine, if you move out and we sell the home and we're only going to take this much of a hit on this mortgage, we'll go ahead and sell early for less than what you owe on your mortgage.
Right now, too, inventory across the board. We keep saying we need listings, we need listings, we need listings. But in the Harrisburg area, I can give you the number. We're now under 3,800 active listings. The last show, we were at like 4,200. Now, historically, that a lot of people will take their home off the market here as we get into the holidays. So you should see a surge coming back on the market here in January. Because also on our last show, we talked about people that were retiring, and hopefully we have a lot of retirees that are going to go out and buy that RV or move south or move to Canada and are going to be placing their homes on the market because we definitely need inventory. We're also seeing on the inventory, you've heard us talk about the upper end homes $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, our local McMansions. We are finally starting to see a lot more of that market move. But Kingsley, I'm also starting to see a lot of those sellers be willing to offer a rent-to-own option on the homes.
For the big homes?
For the big homes.
Really?
For the big homes. I'm really surprised, but that segment of the market, some of them may have to look to do that to be able to make the move if they have to move for a job or some reason.
Are they just not selling the higher-end homes?
Well, we're still seeing sluggishness. Above 400,000, it's still a little bit sluggish. There's still like about 9 months worth of inventory. So you figure normal in a balanced market, we're looking for 4 to 6. So just about double, what we can accommodate.
That's a lot of homes. I mean, that's quite a bit above average. But rent to own is a bit risky, isn't it? I mean, for the current homeowner.
Well, we just had one yesterday where that's what the seller opted to do, seller's choice. But the family, the husband was already out of state working his job, and wife, 2 small kids. It's been 7-8 months. They want to get the family back together.
Right, and I guess the husband's carrying rent and the mortgage, and
Right.
and basically 2 households of living expenses at that point.
That's true. And, the next topic we're moving into is pricing. And it comes to a point where they can only lower the price so much, or they end up going towards that short sale situation, or they lose all of their equity, which they don't want to do.
And that's understandable, which brings me back to our last point when we were talking about what you can afford going into 2017. For example, these homes that are $300,000, $400,000 that are on the market, what happens at the end of 2017 going into 2018 when interest rates are higher and you've got the affordability factor going way down?
Absolutely. The affordability, every time that mortgage interest rate ticks up, somebody can't buy the home that they thought they could.
So your $400,000 home, I don't know how big the home was that was rent to own. So you had 100 people that loved the home. Out of those 100 people, 50 could afford it yesterday. Tomorrow the interest rates go up, now only 30, and then so on and so on. So at the end of the year, you may only have, 25% of what the market was 2 years ago previously that could afford that same home. So the numbers go down as far as who can or wants to buy your home.
Absolutely. We haven't seen so much of an impact on our daily buyers because it seems that after the crash, most buyers became a little bit more conservative. So the ones that we've been seeing haven't been pushing it to get every last dollar on the mortgage. What are you seeing on the mortgage side? Are you seeing everyone try to get every last dollar they can?
It really is kind of mixed. Recently we did a home where they could have easily afforded double the home. And then, on the flip side, you've got people trying to push, double what they're actually qualified for. And you got to tick them down. And I'm not sure if it was the fact that they were in a real small home now, and they're renting obviously, and they're first time home buyers, and they haven't had their feet wet and in owning a home yet, and don't really understand the total cost of home ownership. But it's really been a mixed bag. Really has been.
I know the couple that you and I talked about this week that was looking at that home in Maryland, vacation home. About $500,000 is what the previous owner had paid for it. And, when we're talking about interest rates and tying everything together for you folks, people in 2008, I think, paid $525,000 for a vacation home, with a boat dock. And over the course of time, they had taken an interest-only loan, which were back in the heyday. Everyone thought, okay, well, the appreciation was going to keep ahead of the inflation rate and keep ahead of the interest rate. They were going to still make money. But these folks that had owned a home paid 5.25% in 2008, and I think the interest rate I told in Kingsley was like 0.003, so almost nothing. And then it jumped here to like 5.375. All of a sudden, you have $525,000 mortgage you were paying no interest on, and that payment just went through the roof, and they couldn't afford it. But makes for good opportunities on those vacation homes too.
It does. I mean, and there's how many listings up in the Poconos that fit that bill?
Absolutely. There are just a ton of homes up there, in gated communities. You can still get in a gated community, for example, Pocono Country Place, and we can still find you a decent home. May need some TLC, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, under $50,000.
Wow. And, and eventually the market's going to come back.
Oh, it's absolutely.
So, I mean, if you can afford the vacation home and you're thinking about the vacation home, as crazy as it sounds, I would say jump on it now if you can afford it. only because, 3, 4, 5 years from now, those homes are going to hopefully be back to, what we consider market value, and the economy is going to come back, and people are going to be out there buying vacation homes, and, buying early is going to gain you equity at the very least. But again, 2, 3 years from now, with interest rates going up, who knows what's going to happen if you can afford them.
Where we see prices going, next year we're anticipating about a 4.2% appreciation rate on residential real estate nationwide. What do you think about that, Kingsley?
I gotta say, I with interest rates going up, by the end of the year, I think it's going to be less than that. But the trend is that the appreciation is going to, I think, level off and trickle down to, a national average of 3%, maybe slightly below that as interest rates go up. The economy, everybody's kind of bullish on the economy and happy that things are going to be going in the right direction, from what we can see in the market, et cetera, et cetera. How long it takes for home values and appreciation to catch up to that is really the question. And I think a lot of it's going to come down to how fast they raise interest rates and what the policies are and how fast they get implemented. But 4%, okay, I can go with that. I just think it's going to be a little less than that by the end of the year.
I think as we've seen a lot of the foreclosures nationwide get eaten up and a lot of the short sales dry up, I think that's going to start to bolster the prices. I think that since we won't have some of the low-end inventory where the banks are cutting them loose or where it's just an asset manager who wants to get rid of a file and fire sales of property, I think as those dry up, we're definitely going to be seeing the prices go up. But I think you're right. I think it's going to be a balance. I don't know if we're going to hit that 4.2.
Well, and again, I mean, as much as I hate to go back to this interest rate raise, the affordability factor of these, $300,000 and up homes really does take an effect on the value of those homes. Because, simple, law and demand, if you've got less demand for a $300,000 house, is it really worth $300,000 or is it worth $290 now or $295? I mean, you're talking a huge amount, but as less people can afford those homes, the values are going to tend to trickle down, which again I think is going to balance that 4.5% back down to probably a little bit more realistic number of 3.5%, and that trend I think is going to continue as the economy, which is a good thing. I mean, job rates are going to go up, the unemployment rate's going down, the economy's doing better, the stock market's doing better. So overall, is it going to strengthen the housing market? Yes.
I think also as new homes come back stronger in the market, I think this year, nationwide there were about 700,000 new home starts, and they're predicting that for next year that's going to go up about 10%. So let's say about 800,000. We really need to get back to our heyday type of production on those new homes, which is about 1.5 million a year. And that also helps pricing and appreciation, because new homes cost more to build than an old home. And that helps drive prices up, and everyone makes a little bit more on equity. But we're definitely needing the builders to start more spec homes.
Well, yeah, because if we're so short on inventory as it is now, it's probably only going to get stronger as the economy does. So if we're half of what our normal rate is as far as new home builds, and we're hurting right now for inventory, and you have a blacklist of buyers that are looking to buy, and there's no inventory. We need more homes. We need more developments.
And we need in the new construction arena, the big thing that drives it is the cost of the lot. And the lot prices have gotten just so out of hand because of regulations. Regulations now add, I think, almost 30% to the cost of a lot.
Wow.
So it's tough for the builders. 30 years ago, we could build a house we had builders building houses, your standard 2-story, your standard ranch home, a bi-level, a split level, on a lot, in a great area, in a good school district, and we could sell them for $99,000. And now it's so tough to get anything under $200,000 because you're trying to build it on an $80,000 lot. So we need to get more affordable development lots.
What we need is less government intervention.
That's adding to the prices, absolutely. We definitely need them to stay out of it and let the prices for the lot and the development get back to normal levels.
Let the market dictate, what the values are, without, taxing this and taxing. Did you know Pennsylvania just out of the blue is one of the highest gas taxes in the United States?
Just went up 8 cents.
It's crazy.
8 cents.
It's amazing. So, how much really is a gallon of gas if you were to buy it without the taxes? I don't even know.
Well,
under $2? Nice.
Yeah. When you drive south, you get to some of these other states. It's just you just see the prices,
and you're
drop.
closer to some of the refineries.
Yeah.
And
cheap gas, cheap cigarettes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's right.
It's crazy. But the sad thing is that that's kind of along the same lines as these lots and these restrictions. You can call them whatever you like, but at the end of the day, when you're paying a $50 fee to have this analyzed, or a $100 fee for this certificate or this, it's really just a tax. They can call it whatever they like, but they're just taxing the hell out of these home builders, thinking that they're making so much money, but it's really being passed on to the consumer.
Our rule of thumb used to be that if whatever the lot cost, that the home and lot package would start about 3 times that. And so now that you've got an $80,000 or $85,000 lot, now you're looking at the mid 200s, and that's still tough on the builder. Whereas if we could take $30,000 off that lot, now we're looking in the mid 100s or the upper 100s, and the affordability would just be so much better for everybody all involved.
Realistically, it's hard to even get into a new build home now for under $200,000. It's very rare. Single family home, right? So we have John Stas, who calls in every week
from EnviroQuest.
Who does home inspections. And what are we going to be talking about this week?
John's going to be talking about safety issues he runs across doing home inspections, but that tend to rear, as he said it, their ugly head this time of year. So,
John, are you on?
I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good.
So tell us about these safety issues. When you go to look at these homes this time of year in particular, what is the number one safety issue that pops up when you're doing these home inspections this time of year?
Well, this item in particular is a safety issue throughout the year that we point out during home inspections, but during the winter, people spend a lot more time inside. So things really that we find, such as safety cord violations, extension cords running under carpet. It's one of the major causes of fires. People running an extension cord improperly and have it in permanent use, and friction from walking across it, from having it under the carpet or under a rug. It actually causes a lot of fires. Other things for electrically related, especially up in attics, we find what we call it homeowner wiring. No offense to anybody, but when wires aren't properly secured, for example, a wire running into a metal junction box where the actual wire is against the sharp edge of the box, with that wire not being properly secured, over time it can rub through the insulation on the wire and then start to cause a fire over time. The electrical wire makes contact with the box. That's a major source of fires. So we look at the wiring really closely when we do a home inspection so that you can get anything like that corrected.
And almost, the bulk of home fires are all electrical pretty much. I mean, more than, gas or any type of issue like that. Most of them that we see, John, are all electrical. So that is a huge safety concern.
Yeah, even the way when I'm doing a home inspection or when I train our inspectors, when we find an electrical problem, we say it's probably a small chance of a fire, but you don't want a small chance of a fire in your house. So it's a very serious issue.
What are some of the other safety issues that you commonly see?
Well, if you have a fossil fuel burning heating appliance, you want to make sure that you also have a smoke or a carbon monoxide detector. One of the things we see, because we're not taking these units apart, but we do look for symptoms of improper function. For example, an older gas furnace or an oil furnace that has a heat exchanger that's not working properly. We look for soot on the supply registers. If you ever see soot on the supply register, it means combustion products are getting into the supply air, which can mean that the heat exchanger has a crack, so that's never a good sign. So once again, you want to make sure you have carbon monoxide detectors. And if you see soot on your supply register, that's a sign the unit needs to be checked out by a professional.
And what other ones have you seen recently, on these safety issues? Do you see any safety issues on a plumbing side?
Yeah. Obviously, with the plumbing, we look at the supply lines and the waste lines. It could be potentially a safety issue, especially on the waste side of things. Your sewer lines, if you have a leak or something that's not properly trapped, and that's letting sewer gas get into the house where it shouldn't. So that can be a safety issue as well.
And with the plumbing, I would imagine this time of year, I mean, we've been pretty lucky over the last couple of years as far as temperatures going all the way up until Christmas. And last year, I mean, it felt like spring during Christmas from what I recall. But as we move into January and February, and our temperatures drop, and we've got, sub-freezing temperatures in the teens and even lower than that in some cases, pipes that, are in areas that aren't necessarily always checked or in the basement where it's going to get colder, obviously has risks of cracking and even some in the walls where you've got some, splits or, pipe bursts, etc. I would imagine with something like that at this time of year, precaution is going to be necessary because with burst pipes or even leaks that develop over time because of cold weather, you've got a mold issue.
For sure.
Do you run into that more this time of year, or do you run into, should I say, just the pipe burst causing this issue more so now than you do throughout the year?
Yeah, during the home inspections, we look for, areas where maybe they're running some supply lines through a crawl space that's vented. And when we see things like, sometimes we'll see things like somebody's already got heat tape wrapped around pipes, and that's a good indication that they've frozen before and that the homeowner is trying to have that heat tape there in case of problem occurring again. So, yeah, we look for that. The other place would be in the attic, especially on some of the newer homes where they run the PEX plumbing supply lines. They need to have the insulation on top of them. If the pipes stick up above the insulation, they can freeze during the winter.
John, so that PEX piping, that's that blue and the red piping?
Yeah, it's blue and red and sometimes white. And the good thing about the PEX, and we find a lot of landlords and people that have properties, once their pipes freeze, they put the PEX back in to repair it, because usually the PEX will stand up to freezing. It's still going to cut your water off when it does freeze, but if you have the PEX, it can take freezing without bursting most of the time.
And now PEX is from my understanding, and I've put it in a few homes, it can expand and contrast without actually splitting or cracking, correct?
Exactly, yeah. So it does stand up to that freezing conditions a lot better than copper or the CPVC or other products that are commonly used.
Although it's not a free pass for, obviously, free-flowing water. I mean, we've seen, as crazy as this sounds, I mean, people in, mobile homes in the area with blowtorches underneath trying to, melt their pipes to get running water again.
I thought you used an arc welder.
Well, that could probably be a little bit more exciting if you have it on video. But, the sad thing is since we're talking about safety, anybody out there that does have a modular home with that sort of setting or skirting around the bottom of their home, please, at this time of year, make sure, I mean, what do you do, John? Like, let the faucet drip so there's constantly flowing water to avoid those types of issues?
Yeah, letting the faucet drip, that's a good defense. If it gets really cold, for your example, the mobile home, it's going to freeze. So heat tape's a good application for that. To put heat tape around the pipe, and then also insulate.
And I guess right now, this time of year, while people are starting to take down their holiday lights, their Christmas lights, and they're up there taking them off the gutters, they might as well look to clean those out too, right, John?
Yeah, you always want to make sure, especially for winter, that your gutters are clear, to prevent ice damming. And we do get storms and snow and ice that doesn't back up under the shingles, a condition called ice damming. So keeping your gutters clear will definitely reduce the risk of that.
So, John, any other tips for our listeners today?
Well, pretty much you just want to have like a home maintenance program for your house, and performing that maintenance throughout the year will keep you in good shape. So we do give you a home maintenance guide with a home inspection. At the back of the inspection, it has a home maintenance guide where you can look up specific characteristics of your home and see what the proper maintenance for those items is. So it's always a good idea.
So, at this time of year, obviously, before we get into the freezing temperatures, if a homeowner wants to have you come out and take a look at some of these issues that you might be able to foresee or help them prevent, what's the best number to get a hold of you, John?
That's number 717-233-6144, or our website, evqharrisburg.com.
Awesome. And John, thanks for stopping in today, and we'll talk to you next week. And, hey, Happy New Year.
Thanks, guys. Happy New Year's to you and everybody out there.
All righty. So we're moving into 2017. And, I don't know if the reason people have, not been buying, was because of the fear of programs or lack of programs, or whether or not they would qualify. I think a lot of people were scared away from buying a home ever since 2007, 2008. And I just want to be the first to say it's gotten so much better since 2009. I mean, I'm sure you could see it. I mean,
absolutely. You
could have been a perfect borrower almost in 2009, and you still couldn't, get a home because nobody wanted to lend the money. Everyone was afraid of, repercussions from governmental agencies or what they call having to repurchase. I know in 2015, there was so many overlays, and
what's an overlay?
An overlay is a guideline that is put on top of an FHA guideline. And I'm going to expand on that. So, for example, FHA says you've got to have a minimum of a 580 credit score, right? So if you're getting an FHA loan, stands to reason you'd think you'd be able to go to any lender and get an FHA loan with a 580 credit score, right?
Makes sense to me.
Okay, well, obviously we know that doesn't happen. An overlay would be a local lender or a lender that you've been working with that says, we're going to make it 620. I don't care what FHA says, because God forbid that 1 in 5,000 chance that you don't pay your mortgage on time and go into default, or don't pay your mortgage, I'm going to have to buy that loan back from FHA. as a lender. So they put on these extra guidelines, if you will, and make it extra tight to try and qualify. So many of these banks, if not most of them, have some sort of overlay somewhere, throughout the guidelines.
Are we seeing any loosening of that?
It's already happened over the years, but it's actually just getting better and better and easier to qualify. The sad thing is there was a lot of good loans that were taken out of the marketplace just because of overfear, if you will, that were performing loans. And now some of those are starting to come back. You've got a lot of people that are self-employed, good people, good credit, pay their bills on time, but because they didn't have that perfect W-2'd income and way to document, the income that they're getting, they didn't qualify for purchasing a home. And as most self-employed people know, the only way really to do that, or traditionally the only way to show your income is a tax return. Well, now there's alternative methods to doing that. And it's obvious if you're a good borrower or if you're not a good borrower.
I also saw an article that most of the millennials, it's almost 75%, I believe, don't know how much it takes down to buy a home. They think it's a lot more than what it is. And with these programs we talked about the other week, they can get in virtually with almost no money, very little money.
The funny thing is we did talk about that a couple of weeks ago, but, a standard FHA loan, you only need 3.5% down, okay? Which isn't, a whole lot of money if you think about buying a home. You're buying a $300,000 home, and for $10,000 as far as a down payment, that's a standard type of down payment for an FHA loan. Decent credit, good job. Obviously, you got to make sure you can afford the home. But, you've got your closing costs on top of that. And oh, my God, it's so much cost. There's so many mechanisms to lower what you need down to purchase a home. For example, all the bond programs or first-time homebuyer programs for the different regional counties, like Dauphin
County. Up to $18,000 in the one county. Just phenomenal.
It's crazy.
Kings, I have a question for you, though. So let's say you have a 25-year-old sleeping on your sofa, but has a decent job, decent credit, pays their bills. Would your advice be to them to save more money and get more money down, or if they could buy now using one of the programs, do you think they're better off to go ahead and buy now?
Well, that's just going to come down to a philosophical question.
Absolutely.
Because they're more afraid of something else other than buying the home. They're afraid to take that plunge. And
their Xbox might lock up.
Yes, and what are they going to do in their own home? I get that. But if you look at this on the flip side, and historically this is a huge opportunity for home buyers to purchase now with almost nothing, I don't want to say nothing out of their pocket, but with very little money out of their pocket. And over the course of the next 3, 4, 5 years, gain so much equity in those homes, because right now there's such a huge opportunity for people to buy. There really is.
With the low interest rate, what I tell young customers all the time is the home you buy today, you may never end up selling because you get it at such a low interest rate. And years from now, when the interest rate's higher, you're going to be able to rent it out, positive cash, pull some equity, move on to the next house, and sort of have best of both worlds.
Yeah. You're almost losing by not buying, if that makes any sense.
Well, because you lose the appreciation.
You're losing the appreciation.
You're losing the tax deduction.
You're losing the tax deduction.
So that's your biggest write-off still on the federal income
but you're
tax.
also losing the value. You're also losing your buying power. So if you are looking to buy and you see that perfect home from, one of the few builders that we work with, that $300,000 home 3 years from now might not be affordable for you.
Right, because it's probably going to be $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 more.
And it's also going to be a higher interest rate, which means your affordability factor goes down.
Double whammy.
Yeah. So you're really kind of missing out by sitting there on the couch playing Xbox when you can be doing it in your own home and getting tax write-off. Think of the bigger check that you would get at tax season time to buy the latest and greatest games with your tax refund check.
Well, the other thing for renters to look at is after 5 years of paying rent, when you leave, you have nothing. You're not getting any equity.
Nope.
Whereas 5 years, let's say you bought a $200,000 home, maybe it's up $40,000 or $50,000. You leave from that home, you're leaving with $40,000 or $50,000. It's still the greatest way to build wealth.
Well, you're building wealth for your landlord, yes. So
if you're paying rent.
If you're paying rent. So, take the opportunity to make that money for yourself. And just real quick, with that in mind, I know we usually have a lot of realtors listening in, and home buyers, obviously, at the same time. 2017 is slated to be a huge year, guys. So make sure you're ready. Make sure you have, the right partnerships lined up to, set yourself up for success for 2017. I mean, if you're not with the right real estate company, start looking now.
Hey, give me a call
for the new year. If you're not partnered up with the right mortgage company that has, all the right tools,
give you a call.
Give me a call. Yes. And you can obviously get a hold of both of us on Facebook too, at the Real Estate Radio Guys. We've got some great programs coming out in 2017. We have, I don't know how many times you've gone to put an offer in on a home and halfway through all of a sudden, a borrower's denied. There's programs now where you actually get approved, not pre-approved, not pre-qualified, but pre-approved, where your loan file goes to an underwriter and you're actually approved before you even put an offer in on a house.
And I heard a rumor you may actually be able to close a loan in just a few weeks here soon.
We have what's called a lightning loan. I mean, this is just kind of like a little carrot or a little snippet, if you will, that's coming out that will be a 15-day close.
Wow, we haven't seen those in years.
So, yeah, I mean, technology, that's a big thing for our company. But also the first pre-approvals, that also kind of helps. So before you go out, let's get you approved, not just pre-qualified. That way, the only thing that's going to change between now and the time you close is the address that we approved you for. So, we've got that. We've got phone applications where the realtor and you can see where your loan is at any given moment throughout the whole process just by picking up your cell phone. And these are just some of the great programs that we've got coming up in 2017, along with the fact that the overlays are lessening, like we said. So it's easier to qualify. So, yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to it.
We appreciate y'all listening in today. And, keep us in mind, refer us to your friends, because we're really trying to deliver to you real topics, real answers for real people.
And, hey, don't forget, this is New Year's Eve. So Happy New Year, everybody. And we'll see you next year.
Side.
You've been listening to the Real Estate Radio Guy with real estate broker John Rainville. Listen each week at this time and learn all about buying and selling, mortgages, market conditions, property maintenance, and much more. It's brought to you by Equity Prime Mortgage, EnviroQuest Inspections, and SearchHomesInPA.com. It's the Real Estate Radio Guy, Saturday mornings at 8 on Oldies 102.9 and AM 960 WHYL.
Everyone wants to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. If only they knew the best way to do it. Hi, I'm John Rainville.
And I'm Kingsley Harmer.
And we're the Real Estate Radio Guys. We bring over 40 years experience to talk about all things real estate.
Weekly, we'll discuss the latest trends, hot topics, along with tips and techniques that could save you thousands and eliminate headaches.
So tune in to the Real Estate Radio Guys, Saturdays at 8 a.m. here on WHYL 102.9. Real topics, real real answers for real people.
Are you working with a mortgage company that offers pre-approvals or just pre-qualifications? Does your mortgage company reward police, firefighters, military, teachers, and nurses with better rates and fees? How would you like to apply and be updated on the status of your loan right from your phone? Introducing GSF Mortgage Corporation, where technology and relationships make the difference. Visit pagoloan.com to apply or call 717-200-4800 for more information. NMLS number 1018.
Joe Ricky plays good time oldies. WHYA.